are here, I'm here as well. Hello, it is me. But if you're here, I feel like this is a big message that is really meant for you. You are here at a very specific time. And whenever you see this particular reading, I really feel like you are meant to see this. You're meant to see this message. So here you are, here I am, gonna do your reading, and I have things to tell you. Trust me, okay? Because it's the feeling I get. We have here the Fool, which is very, very powerful. King of Cups as well. You know, I feel like you were dealing with someone that was quite spontaneous and quite all over the place, and this person also comes across as someone that's always very distracted, always very busy, always kind of like the life of the party. They've always got lots of things going on. They're always distracted, busy, you know, millions of things happening. And the most interesting thing with the Fool is that, you know, they may have acted very, very immaturely towards you, not really given you a lot of time or energy, not really been as proactive or understanding towards you. And what's fascinating is that we've got the King of Cups, okay? Now, it's interesting because I see you as a much more mature person. You are very good at analyzing people's body language, how they treat you, how they don't. You can automatically feel or sense when something is off or it doesn't feel good. You can automatically just sort of feel that energy. And what I really, really want to tell you, and what I think is very important for me to mention here, is that your gut and your instinct is very, very strong. You know, you can sense when something is off, you can sense when something isn't quite right, you can sense when a person is pulling away, and you could really sense it with this person. But deep down, you've always felt like this person really cares about you, this person really feels something towards you, and you couldn't shake that off, because despite their immaturity and despite the fact that this person is sometimes a bit hot and cold and kind of all over the place, or just very, you know, overwhelmed by a lot of things in life, you always felt like, no, but this person does actually care about me. This person has shown me through actions, through words, that they have felt emotionally connected to me, romantically connected to me, or just connected to me in general, okay? Your intuition and your gut is like, no, but they really do care. And it's something you couldn't shake off, because God, your gut just screams it to you, you know, your gut just screams it to you, okay? So your intuition is very strong in that regard. You kind of think to yourself like, no, this person does actually really like me. And then, you know, they confirm something that they do towards you, which can be quite nice, or, you know, especially in the past as well, they may have really, you know, been quite understanding, caring, giving, you know, taking action towards you, giving you something. And that's Temperance here as well, you know, this sense of love, the sense of understanding, the sense of feeling connected, the sense of feeling understood, respected, especially with the Ace of Wands. I just see a very, very powerful energy here, which is to do with love, which is to do with respect, which is to do with understanding, which is to do with chemistry, which is to do with really feeling confident and feeling uplifted. And that's what I see here with the Ace of Wands, is that you feel physically very attracted to this person. They also feel attracted to you as well. And I would say that they like to act very detached, okay? So that's the Fool here that comes through, detached, kind of in their own world, doing whatever, doing this, doing that, whatever. They like to come across like they are strong-willed, they are having fun, they know what they're doing all the time. They like to come across as a very sort of like open book. They also like to come across as though nothing really ever bothers them, nothing ever really triggers them. You know, they like to come across as though they've got their life relatively in order. And let me tell you something that is so far from the truth, okay? It is so far from the truth. They do have their own stresses, which we'll have a look into. But the Three of Pentacles here shows as well is that this person has felt just as connected to you as you have to them. And this is very, very important, because it basically confirms the intuition of you. It confirms your intuition that you've had in regards to them. It actually confirms your gut feeling that you've had about this person and this particular connection. You know, they really have felt that you are someone that they can settle down with. You are someone that they could build a life with. You are someone that they can actually build something with, have something with, progress things with. And the Three of Swords is interesting because they are not as strong as they appear, okay? This person has a habit of suppressing their emotions. They have a habit of keeping their feelings deep down within themselves. They don't like to express their feelings. They don't like to talk about their feelings. They don't like to express vulnerability. And I feel here what's happened is in the past you may have brought up something emotional. You may have brought up something that really matters to you, right? That was emotional, and they may have just sort of not really wanted to answer it, and they got overwhelmed by it, and they started to create a bit of distance and space when you brought that up. And then the more you brought something up, they would just kind of distance themselves away, because this person has a habit of not understanding their emotions and not necessarily wanting to talk about it, which has led to some kind of conflict or them pulling away, becoming even more hot and cold. But one thing I will tell you is that the feelings that they've had for you have never gone away. And the only one thing standing in the way here is their inability to understand their own emotions and to express their own emotions. They don't know what that's like because they've not really been taught to express emotions or understand emotions or sit with their emotions or to decode their emotions. They've never learnt that. They've never figured it out. They've never been taught how to do that. And because of that, it frustrates you because that's the one thing getting in the way of them being able to have a proper, full-blown relationship with you. It is the one thing right now that stands in its way. Trust me, there are lots of things that can get in the way of a relationship not working out. In fact, let me go through those things, okay? Because some of you might be sort of wondering, like, you know, what are things that can stop a relationship from happening? Number one, if a person just doesn't like you, okay, that's just obvious, okay? But aside from that, there's trauma, okay? Trauma and a person not understanding their emotions, not wanting to lower the guard, not wanting to lower the wall down, you know, that's really the main big one, okay, is trauma and emotions and not having worked through emotions, not being able to communicate that across. And a lot of it is to do with trauma, okay? So that's where shadow work healing really comes into play. And if you wanted to do a shadow work healing ritual for your person, it is something that I offer, but no pressure, like never any pressure to purchase or anything, okay? But basically, the shadow is basically the unconscious aspect of ourselves that we don't see and we don't always acknowledge. And basically, it's our blueprint of how we have been raised, the things that we've been taught to do, the ways in which we've been taught to feel, and how that has psychologically then made us who we are, right? It's our pattern, basically. And when you start to heal your shadow, in reality, your life looks very different. It becomes very, very different, okay? Because your energy actually becomes more open. Otherwise, it's closed. Okay, so shadow work healing and basically trauma is one thing that really affects things. The second thing is magic, okay, and I'm sure many of you know this because I do bang on about it a lot in readings, but that's because I do believe that if there's one thing to invest in, make sure you have magic removed off yourself in this lifetime. And I'm not even saying you have to come to me and do it. I'm just saying if you have a practitioner who removes magic, please go to them, or, you know, remove magic off yourself, or just make sure you are free of that energy because it really gets in the way of life. And it is something that is very mainstream and it's very common these days. I, of course, offer the removal of black magic removal and protection as well. Okay, so magic can really affect relationships. And then, of course, there is astrological events and astrological aspects. Okay, so those are the three big things. Many of you may have already removed magic, you know, you may have already removed negative energy. And I would just say, you know, this person right now, what's standing in between of them, they are awakening, but very, very slowly. And this can take a very long time. So really to make sure that they are awakening to the point where it's much, much sooner, much quicker. To do that much amount of work in a small amount of time, the shadow work healing needs to be done, right? So that is basically what I'm seeing here. But that's it, right? The one thing that is standing in the way of them not being able to properly come forward is their inability to understand their emotions properly, which is something that as time goes by, they will understand more and more. And we see that here, okay? They're working kind of through it, but it's very slow. Needs to be sped up a bit. And really, shadow work healing does speed that up. Because for some people, it can take years for them to learn, okay? It can take years for them to learn how to properly emotionally express themselves. For other people, it can take months and months and months, okay? But that can be sped up because, yeah, I see it being a process. You know, Page to the Knight of Pentacles, it's a slow process. The other thing that I really want to mention here is that, you know, what's really interesting is that you know this about them. You know one of their, like, deepest, darkest, I wouldn't say this is a secret, okay, but they want to keep it to themselves, so therefore it is a secret. But it's one of the deepest, darkest things inside of themselves that they don't want people to know. They don't want people to know that they are vulnerable, that they don't know how to express their emotions or their feelings. So I would advise, okay, if you have a conversation with this person, please don't go and say to them, I know that you have a trouble expressing your emotions and your feeling, you know, because that is going to be something that just absolutely sort of shuts them down. Like they will get overwhelmed. So I want you to know that it's not advisable, okay? And this is a warning that comes through with the cards. Don't just go to them and say this, okay? Because imagine someone coming up to you and telling you something that you don't want people to know, or something, you know, like for example, if you have trouble with, you know, expressing yourself and your fears, and someone comes to you and says, I know you have trouble expressing your fears, you know, and blah blah blah, you know, you can kind of feel like, whoa, this is a lot. Anyways, moral of the story here is they're learning and they're growing, okay? And that can sort of overwhelm them, because remember, they already are having a hard time understanding their emotions, and then you bring up something like that, they'll be like, whoa, wait, what? Like, I don't want to be vulnerable, you know, because they have a hard time being vulnerable, whereas you are okay being vulnerable. So if someone brings something up to you, you would actually be okay with it. So there is also that as well. But anyways, this is what I see, all right? This is what I see. You caught them. You caught them. It's kind of embarrassing, right, that actually you caught them. But anyways, the affirmation for this reading is I have caught them, or yeah, I have caught them. Comment that down below. Like this reading, subscribe, especially if this makes sense for you and it, you know, you claim it. And also everything is linked down below and on shopmoonlightguidance.com for services and readings and things. All right, take care.